So today we're going to be talking about working as a business analyst, but working with Excel. So as you may know, Excel is just like the backbone of a lot of things. You'd be surprised how some of these large organizations and even small ones that are building very elaborate things are doing it on an Excel backbone. Like whenever we need to discuss something, we just throw up an Excel sheet. It's so easy. It's columns and rows. You can think in a logical pattern. You can make it into whatever you want it to be. You can be as in-depth and as analytical as you want, or as simple and as plain Jane as you want. The tool is just very robust. And the same for Google Sheets. So when I say Excel, I'm not talking about the actual Microsoft tool, although that is the name of it, but it's more the concept of having like a sheet, right, where we can put data in rows and columns and do formulas over them and work with them, right? So you know that in our club, we focus a lot on the functional BA role. We're not spending a lot of time on the data analytics part of being a BA, because I do feel it's a separate career. To be honest, it's really data analyst, not business analyst, and a little bit more business intelligence, which is different from business analysts in general. Although, again, the market has us doing everything, right? So you may not be able to escape entirely the data piece of it, but the reason why we don't focus as much on data analytics in this membership program is because it's almost a no-brainer right now. Meaning, because you have a starting point, your starting point is the data. You have this database full of data that you can pull from. The skill is really in how you interpret it and how you join tables and learning how to do SQL and learning how to visualize those data sets, which I'm not saying is not a difficult job. It could be very complex, but it's so, you can Google that. You know what I'm saying? Like you can find the formula on Google. You can chat GPT it. Feed in if your company will allow you, because my company right now, they don't allow chat GPT data because they don't want, we're in banking. They don't want to expose confidential data on the open web. So we can't use it. But for other applications like e-commerce and other things, you can feed a whole spreadsheet into ChatGPT and ask it, does this exist in the data set that you have? So you can literally, you can AI your way through data analytics, right? Not to say their job isn't important, it is, and you'll definitely have to use the tools properly. But I think for what we're trying to do here is to build the analytical skills around knowing what to do. And the piece where you need to have the data, I think that part will come pretty easily to you and you can figure that part out, right? So Excel is the backbone for so many things. It's very important for you to know how to use it. It's very important for you to leverage it as a tool, not just to create sheets with stuff on it, but how can you make it the most visually appealing and represent the most complex data in a clear way, right? So we'll talk about some of that today. And some of the things that we use Excel for in general, right? So hopefully that will be something that you're interested in. So there's so many use cases. There is so many use cases for Excel. I could not even attempt to exhaust this list. But just some examples are data cleaning and preparation. So if you have a bunch of data, you're like, okay, this data needs to merge with this other one, and it's like data is everywhere. It's a great tool to see what you have, like export the data for yourself and see where you're missing stuff and then clean it up and re-import it. We do that a lot at the Back Office Club, Joshua and I. We get input of like email addresses from different sources, and then we have to upload that into our mailing tool. We have a tool that sends out automated mails. So now sometimes it's not in sync, so we have to download it from here. It's in one format. Joshua does a great job of cleaning it up and then uploading it into the right tool so we can send the emails out to the right addresses and not have chaos. So obviously Excel helps us to visualize it and make that transition. One more thing about Excel is that because it has all of these different formats, CSV, XLS, all of these different formats, you can basically download it in the format that you want, and it can be used in almost any other system. So it's very, very easy to translate or to give data to another system with the formats that you get when you download from Excel or data, Google Sheets. I'm talking about them both interchangeably, right? Data analysis, of course, because the data goes in there, you can see it in Excel, and then you can use it to create graphs and charts and all that stuff. Financial forecasting for sure. Project management and task tracking. So the project managers love Excel. They love Google Sheets and Excel because they seem to run their entire project off of Excel, right? Everything starts in Excel and then it feeds into other things like their PowerPoint presentations, their discussions, their whatever, Jira, all of that stuff. But it seems to start all the time with project managers in Excel, and they have a lot of tracking. You can do Gantt charts, you can do work breakdown structures, you can do all of these things, which you don't have to create as the BA, but you definitely need to learn to read it so that you can make sense of it, so you can give the right estimates and about the work that you have to do as a BA on the project. So this is important as well. Reporting and business dashboards, this is a no-brainer. Requirements management. So when it comes to requirements management, and I just want to check on our folder, we have a folder in the back office subfolder called BA templates, and there's one called requirements management. But we do create requirements in Excel. It's not very common, but we do. And typically it would be just a way to highlight maybe by area. Let's say these are requirements for the UI. These are requirements for the back end. These are requirements for the front end. These are requirements for, non-functional requirements. So we kind of do that. We normally have tabs for these things. And it's typically just the requirement feature. People do it different ways. You can create a column that says, a high-level requirement, another one that explains if it's a low-level requirement. But the good thing about Excel is that because you have these rows and columns, you really have to make it clear and clean and easy to follow. Because what I find is people like to just throw things in Excel, and the next person who's coming along behind them is like, what in the world did you do? Like, what is this? And I found myself on that side a lot of times. So when you're making these complex requirements in Excel, you really have to make sure that you make it clear, right? Traceability matrix, if you don't know what that is. Traceability matrix is when you're in waterfall and you've created all these requirements and now they need to go test them, because in waterfall, you're doing everything. You get the whole system before you get to testing. So now you're in testing. You need to make sure that this test that you have covers these requirements, because sometimes one test can cover multiple requirements. So you just want to make sure you don't have anything slip through the cracks. So they create this traceability matrix which says this requirement maps to this requirement, and this requirement goes, so that you make sure at the end of the day, every requirement has been tested. And it's not a common thing to use anymore. I find it to be very onerous to do. It's a lot of overhead. It's very manual. And with tools like Jira and DevOps, there's really no need to be doing this manually with an Excel sheet. It's just unfortunate. So if people are if they're not using these modern agile tools and they're doing waterfall and you have to build this, God help you. It's just it's a waste. But it's literally the format of it would be, this is the test case. These are the requirements it matches. And then you just kind of check the boxes, like test case at the top and requirement to the left, or whichever way you want to do it. But it's just check boxes in between to confirm that these are checked. And then if nothing is checked for one of these requirements, you know that you haven't tested it, right? So that's how you see that. Gap analysis, this is great document which talks about, this is what this feature has, and this feature has these other things. So where's the gap? So this is good in implementation projects where you're trying to implement a new software solution that's already built, to say this is what we do today with our current solution, and this is what the new solution does. The gap is here, where this one, it takes you 3 clicks to get in to get this done. This one takes you 1. This one has one screen that has all the details, and these are the details it has. This one has 3 screens that have the same details over 3 screens, but it's still missing one of this other field, right? So you can clearly show where you have similarities and especially gaps, so that the audience you're going to present this to will know what is missing, because it's not always very easy. And this is a common thing for them to ask to be to create. API catalogs, we also do that in Excel, which is, these are all the APIs that come exposed with this system. And these are all the APIs that we need, for example. And if we can say, okay, this one covers this feature, this one covers this feature, this one covers this feature, we're going to have to build these other APIs to match these features that we want. It's a very technical thing. Typically, if you have to do it, you do it in conjunction with your software architect, and you have to have one for this API stuff, or a back-end engineer. It's not something you can do on your own. You don't have the details, the knowledge, the technical know-how to do this. But what they want from you is to be able to structure the file, the Excel file properly, so that they know where to put stuff. Sometimes the architect can do it themselves, so it's not always going to be you, but it's something that you should be aware of that is being done by BAs in the field. Feature list, and I'm gonna have example of all of these, so don't worry, we're gonna get there. Product feature list, which is these are all the products that we have in our arsenal. So just let's say, like me, we work on banking applications. What are all the things that we do? Well, we do wealth management. We do retail banking, which include making payments, wire transfers, internal payments, bill pay, all of these things that we do. Or if it's business banking, we allow you to upload batches. We allow you to send payments to your vendors, all the features. So you can have a list of features that your product offers that becomes a standardized list of features that you can then use when you're talking to clients. You'll be surprised how as we build new things, that feature list never gets updated and nobody has a complete list of all the things that we can do, our capabilities. It's not as easy as it looks. And of course, you can create checklists and forms and just about anything. You can write code and build a whole application using, I think it's VBasic. Yes, the programming language behind Excel. I didn't mention it here, but you also have testing, writing test cases here. It's something that we would be, bumping into a lot. We don't have to write the test cases except the UAT test cases, but a lot of times you work with the QA and the QA is the one writing the test cases. So that's sometimes written in Excel too. So many applications, so many use cases for how we as BAs would benefit from using Excel, and we can use it. It's a standardized expectation that you would probably deliver Excel document for something throughout your career. So this is pretty good.